Here's one thing I wish I could imprint on the brain of every American. It would probably be that Obama's deportation record is so much worse than Donald Trump's. And I don't just mean in terms of sheer volume, in terms of the sheer number of people deported. Now, most people who aren't ignorant liberals know that Obama's the deporter-in-chief. He deported over 3 million people. He removed more non-citizens from the US than any president in American history. But when that number is brought up to liberals, I always hear the same response. And I heard it again yesterday on the Piers Morgan show. He had Joy Reid on and he asked her, how many do you think Obama deported? She said maybe 1 to 2 million. He gave her the correct number. Her response was the same response I always hear, which is something to the effect of, okay, he deported a lot of people. It's not great, but at least he followed due process and focused on public safety threats. This is not true, you guys. And I would respectfully say that if you are not informed enough to know the number that he deported, maybe you are likewise not informed enough to know how he deported them or who he deported. The New York Times and the Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse, in 2 separate independent reviews, both found, as reported by the American Immigration Council, that by the time Obama had deported 2 million people, over 2/3 of those had no criminal record or only had minor criminal infractions like traffic violations. Only 23% of those deported had serious criminal convictions. And here is the ACLU using data from ICE showing that in a single year, over 65% of the people Obama deported had no criminal record or, again, only minor criminal infractions. And during the Obama administration, there were 2 sets of quote unquote criminal deportees that skyrocketed. And those were people who had immigration convictions and people who had traffic violations. Those 2 groups skyrocketed during the Obama administration, and together they made up half of all quote unquote criminal deportees. So on paper, it looks like we're deporting a lot of criminals, but it's not public safety threats. In fact, during the Obama administration, the deportation of public safety threats, people with stronger criminal convictions than just immigration or traffic, that number actually went down. From 2009 to 2014, the number of deportees who were deported on the basis of traffic violations actually quadrupled from the previous 5 years under President Bush. So Obama deported a lot of quote unquote non-criminals. I went over this in the last video. In the last year of Bush's administration, if you were picked up on, say, a traffic violation and you were here illegally, you would simply be deported. But the Obama administration reversed that policy. And in 90% of those non-violent offense cases, the Obama administration would not just deport, they would also charge, which then barred you from re-entering the United States for a period of 5 years under threat of prison. So this notion that Obama was focused on public safety threats, it simply is not true. They paid a lot of lip service to the idea of being focused on that. They even midway through promised to reform themselves, but then the reform was delayed and it never really happened on paper. And by that time, the damage was done according to the liberal point of view. A lot of people were deported who weren't criminals. And they were deported without due process. They were deported without the due process that Democrats believe is owed to illegal aliens. They were deported without the due process that Democrats keep screaming the Trump administration is trampling all over. I went over this in the last video. Here's the ACLU saying that in a single year, 70% of the people Obama deported did not have a hearing with a judge and did not have legal counsel. And that is because Obama deported people under expedited removal, which was signed into law under Bill Clinton. We went over that in the last video, and reinstatements of old orders. That means you've been deported before, you re-enter the country illegally again, you get deported immediately. You don't get a judge or a chance to plead your case or a lawyer, just automatic deportation. Here is Pew Research saying that in a single year, 83% of the people Obama deported did not have a hearing with a judge. Again, here's the ACLU highlighting deportations without a chance to plead your case. And the Obama administration deported asylum seekers without giving them their right to challenge their deportation orders in federal court. The Obama administration repeatedly argued that they had a right to remove asylum seekers from the country without oversight from the federal courts. And the Obama administration even had children representing themselves in immigration court, which is something that I have heard liberals claim is happening under the Trump administration. So why am I saying all this? Because to hear legacy media tell it, What is happening right now is unprecedented. Donald Trump has come in and done something that we've never seen before. It's completely un-American. It is a threat to democracy. He's trampling over everyone's rights. It's basically 1930s Germany, and he is Hitler. But when you actually go back and look at the facts of Obama's administration, not just the numbers, which are astronomical, but the actual cases themselves and the facts and the data, you see that actually this is not unprecedented. It has happened before. In fact, it's happened worse. It's happened to a greater degree, to a greater volume, and you lived through it, and you didn't even really know that it was happening, let alone care. I was an Obama voter. I didn't know this was happening. But here's something I didn't go over in the last video. The Obama administration heavily implemented their federal immigration agenda. They used local police and local budgets to do that. So the Obama administration would order local police to hold people of interest for 48 hours and give ICE time to investigate and see if they wanted to issue a detainer. The Obama administration also continued the rollout of something called secure communities. It started under the tail end of the Bush administration, but Obama administration kept it going, let it grow to fruition. And this was a program where if you were picked up by local police, your fingerprint would be run through a database, a national database. And if it matched someone that ICE was looking for, ICE would issue a detainer. Now, eventually, Obama did away with this program, but by that point, again, from a liberal perspective, a lot of the damage was already done. And states spent a lot of money during the Obama administration complying with Obama's ICE. And again, here is the ACLU saying that citizens, green card holders, they're living in fear, and Latinos are being unfairly targeted by police. With a lot of these articles, you could almost take out Obama's name, put in Donald Trump's, and it would look like something from today. So again, my point is, you have lived through this before. Do not buy the fear-mongering. And if you were old enough to be upset during the Obama years, but you weren't, but you are upset now, you're outraged, then you are being emotionally manipulated. Again, this was happening a few years ago, and you just mostly went about your life and you didn't protest in the streets because it wasn't on the front page of every newspaper and it wasn't at the top of every hour of every news program. You didn't even know that it was happening. So you can have whatever opinion you want about immigration, about Donald Trump, about what we should or shouldn't do, but please understand that nothing about this is unprecedented. It's happened before. It happened worse under Obama. Again, 2/3 of the people had no criminal convictions or only had minor violations. A majority of the people deported without a hearing from a judge. And again, you did not care and you didn't even know that it was happening. So do not let legacy media manipulate you into selective outrage.